Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is all about my trip with my two sons going to the Europe countries by train. We're on board the Eurostar from London to Berlin. However, it was a really long trip and long train ride because of the heat wave in Europe during the summer of 2022. Train was cancelled, delayed, and so we didn't actually arrive Berlin until past the midnight of the next day. It was a beautiful city. We had such a great time spending nearly 3 days in this city. Train ride from Berlin to Budapest was a long one, and it was an overnight train, and in fact we bought the ticket as a first class train all over the Europe. However, for overnight train we need to pay for the premium. This one in fact is not as nice as the one that we took from Budapest to Venice. This one I would consider as the second class the best.
I'm scared of looking. 呢個就係我哋嘅 train。
Arrived at the Budapest Central train station the next morning around 10 o'clock. Budapest, as you can see, is not very developed. However, the city, the people were really nice. Everywhere we go, we got smiles, and people told us that we have to be careful about pickpockets and things like that. But we actually didn't experience anything bad about Budapest. Highly recommend the city. Very Eastern European look.
Where do we go?
So we had such a good time in this city. We checked in a Marriott hotel, which is luckily we got a free upgrade, and the hotel was really right in downtown. So everywhere we go was just a walking distance, and we use a lot of scooters. Okay, and we pay about 3 to 5 euro for a 2 kilometer to 5 kilometer scooter ride. So it was really best way to see the city. So after spending 3 full days in Budapest, and we move on with another train ride, which was a really long one too, from Budapest to Venice, Italy, via Vienna of Austria. It was a really nice train ride. The train was quite new, and from Budapest to Vienna, we were just on a sitting class, okay, with the seats. But from Vienna to Venice, it was a sleeping class, which is, the room was really nice, the train inside, and it has a washroom, so we didn't have to go outside and to use the washroom. It was really nice, and the train was actually quite new. Venice is actually quite a highlight of our entire European trip. and we didn't actually stay inside the Venice city, and we stay at Venice Metro, which is just about, I would say, 3-4 kilometers away from Venice city. And the hotel was actually a lot cheaper and better too, in fact, bigger room. So we stay at the Best Western Plus Hotel, Bologna. So it was really nice hotel, and no complaint about it.
呢個係咩嚟？
When we were in Venice, and since we didn't actually stay at the inside the Venice city, so we take the train ride from Venice Mestra to Venice city, and we pay about €3 per person. It was a really short train ride, less than 10 minutes, but the train was really nice. And this way we just every morning we just had our breakfast in the hotel, and then we took the train ride from Mestra all the way to Venice city, and look around the city, and enjoy the good lunch and good dinner over there. Walking around the Venice city is the best way to see the city. It's not very big. However, if you want to walk around the island, I consider that as island because it's near the water. And it takes about 2 or 3 hours actually going through all the alleys. And you have to be careful also when you stop by the shop for coffee or tea or a beer, because you need to ask for a price, otherwise they're gonna rip you off. And we had this experience of 1 coffee and 2 beers, and that was €30. So it was really rid off. So I would warn everyone, if you're in Venice, going into a shop or restaurant, ask for the price before you drink or open up the bottle. Otherwise, you're gonna be really pissed off. You need at least 2 or 3 full days in Venice to see the entire city, to experience the lifestyle and of the Venice city, because it's such a big city, and a lot of restaurants you may want to try, and a lot of places you may want to walk around. And it's the entire difference of Italian experience. After Venice, we move on to another French city, which is at the Mont Blanc,
係邊個高山啊？
and it's called Chamonix. And again, it was a really long train ride, and we changed the train at Milan, and then going north via Switzerland. And by the time we arrived, Chamonix, it was way past the noon time, and we started in the early morning. So it was about 7 hours of train ride from Venice to Chamonix, and changed about 4 times, and waiting at the train station, etc., etc. So it was about 6-7 hour ride. If you drive, perhaps I would say 2 or 3 hours would get you from Venice to Chamonix. Chamonix is very French, very resort-like. I can imagine during the winter time there were a lot of people doing the skiing, downhill skiing from the Mont Blanc around the city, and even the summer. And we were there in July, and it was only cool but not hot. So because of the altitude, we were, I think it's on the something like over 1,000 meters above sea. So it was a really nice city, and we didn't even have to turn on the air conditioning in the hotel room. It was quite cool, and everywhere we go, the air was so fresh and so nice, and we had such a great time in this, and we're glad we did.
Drink the water.
Walking around the Chamonix surrounding area was the best thing we did visiting this city. It was such a experience that we come from the city and never experienced such a small French city, and has such a nice outdoor environment. We also visit some of the places that is you will hardly see any tourists. Mostly are the local people, and again the air was really fresh.
Careful, huh?
Back to the city of Chamonix. I wouldn't even call it as a city. It's just a small village. And then evening we had one dinner in a Michelin 1-star restaurant. It was really, really nice, and it cost us about 60 euro per person. And I would say that you can't even get the same thing if you're in Paris or you're in Rome. It was such a fun, wonderful experience. After staying about 3 days in Chamonix, and we were heading south to Marseille, which is one of the famous coastal city in the south of France. Again, the train ride was quite wrong actually. We changed 3 or 4 times of trains until we get to the TGV, which is take us from, I think it was Nice, all the way to Marseille in about 2 hours. And again, it was a good experience on a TGV, and 2 of my sons, they were on such a high-speed train in France. When we get to Marseille, it was peak summer month of Europe, and the heat wave in Europe was hitting everywhere, and we were on the south of France, so it was really hot every day, and 35 to 40 degrees is very normal during the few days we were there. After Marseille, and we moved back to northwest to Bordeaux, and we were planning to stay a few days in Bordeaux and visiting the vineyard, and also the two vineyards we have booked it already. So we were so looking forward to see the rural area of France, and also looking forward to visit the Bordeaux Old City and taste some good Bordeaux wines. Visiting these two vineyards in Bordeaux, France, we learned so much about winemaking in France, and also consider what is a good winemaking or bad winemaking. No wonders winemaking, especially Bordeaux, such a huge export for the French industry. Visiting the Bordeaux Old Town was one of the highlights in our trip. This is considered as a World Heritage by UNESCO since 2007, and it was just eye-opening, and we just love it to see around the old building and chit-chat with the people around. It was quite an experience. Bordeaux, France is such a nice city, and we didn't see a lot of people, and we had a good Italian food, good French food, and good Vietnamese food in Bordeaux, and we stayed, our hotel was near the train station, so every day, and we just walked 10 minutes, we will arrive at the center of the city. We use a lot of scooter as well. Again, just like everywhere in Europe, we pay about €3 to €5, and basically it gets us everywhere we want to go in the city. Lunching outside of a restaurant, that's one of the famous lunching eating attitude in France. So we had such a great time, and we also played some frisbee, and we have a boat trip around the river as well. It was really, really nice. Leaving Bordeaux, it was time to go home. Don't believe we have spent 20 days in Europe already, and again we took the Eurostar from Paris to London, and it was really smooth ride. We love Europe so much, and we like to come again in the future and doing a pan-European train trip again. Thank you for watching. 谢谢收看，拜拜。